Hi everyone, I'm Sloan from SloanBella.com, and I am back with another energetically channeled celebrity musician and the girl found in his car video. And by that I mean the young woman named Celeste Rivera, who was found on September 8th of 2025 in the front trunk of her boyfriend slash friend slash singer David, and he spells his name D4vd. Now that is interesting to me because that's a signal for something else. This little girl Celeste was found, as I said, on September 8th of 2025, one day after she would have turned 15 years old. Baby girl was born on September 7th of 2010. And she didn't even make it to 15 because her body was found severely decomposed in the front end trunk of the Tesla of the singer named David. Now, Celeste was rumored to have been his friend. She may have been a girlfriend. She may not have been a girlfriend. We don't really know. We're not really sure. Energetically, it feels very much like there was even more of an ongoing relationship. So I believe that Celeste knew David from about the age of 11 and a half on, which is really inappropriate and pedophilic, if we're going to talk like that. Because I believe it was for the physical, intentional harvesting of her energy and her frequency. Now, I'm going to start off. Usually I don't do videos just because something happens in the news until I feel the person. And yesterday while I was running, I had an image of Celeste come in my brain where she was showing me the right hand and saying, "You promised." Now, obviously she's speaking to somebody who promised her something. So I wanted to dive into it a little bit deeper to see what I could pick up. And looking at Celeste's chart, now I don't have her time of birth, obviously, because I don't know the family and it's nowhere online. But I will say this, she is a Virgo, and we just came through an eclipse series of Virgo Pisces at the point that she passed away. She's also, both of them, her and David, both have Mercury retrograde, and we came through a retrograde up until I believe it was like August 10th of 2025, which we then entered into the shadow period and then into eclipses, etc. And she's going to be activated by that because she is a Virgo sun and moon. I put sun on the ascendant now, so it made her a double Virgo. If I were to say a rising sign off the top of my head, I'm going to say I think she was a Sag rising. First of all, they're always on the go, so you never really know where they are. And secondly, David's Pluto is in the sign of Sagittarius. It is retrograde, and I really feel, obviously with the murder, that this is Plutonian. So it probably was on her ascendant, and it could have even been conjunct from the 12th house by degree. So that would put her degree somewhere at around 26 degrees Sag rising, and that Pluto would have been really conjunct 26, 25. His is at 24. So it was either in the 12th or on the ascendant directly with her, which means he wants to consume her. You're going to look in the chart for Pluto, and even if Pluto is in your partner's chart, is your sun sign, that's someone who's obsessed with you. It's energetic. It's not because you have money or you're good looking or whatever. It's strictly, purely energetic, and it's usually from a past life. Now, looking at David's chart, of which I do not have the time of birth either, we do have Sun in Aries on March 28th of 2005. These crazy birthdays, especially for me. Like, I'm like, we're out of the 80s, we're out of the 90s, we're in the 2005. So he is a Scorpio moon. He and Celeste both had Mercury retrograde, which is fascinating to me. And as I said, his Pluto is in Sagittarius. But what I found interesting, if I'm trying to peg his chart and see how it could be activated, I really feel it could be activated with a Aquarius rising. He strikes me like Gemini rising when I hear him talk. The way he tries to present himself, or here's an even weirder thing. He could himself be a Virgo rising. He himself could be that. But I really feel like it had to be Pluto activating in his chart. So Pluto going through his first house in Aquarius rising would really bring to task all of the bullshit done prior. Like, you're not going to get off this planet when Pluto hits one of the angles without something deeply transformative happening, and not necessarily in the best way, like not necessarily in a positive way, right? It could very well be that, and he could have a Virgo rising teetering on like Libra through the first house with his Aries stellium in the 7th, activating it. Or he literally could be Aquarius rising with transiting Pluto, hitting him where he doesn't want to be hit. He has Mars in Aquarius, so if he had Mars in Aquarius on the ascendant, and this is all speculation, but if he had it there, it would also make him aggressive, but disconnected aggressive. And the way he talks like that in my mind. That's how it is. But getting back to Celeste. So we have Celeste, who would have turned 15 the day before her body was found. Now, that's interesting because I can see her right there when they're finding her body. She was aware of what happened. She was cognizant. She understood what has happened to her. She can see. She can see and she knows. She was waiting for them to find her. She was almost, I don't know if in real life she had a habit of biting her nails, but she's biting her nails for this because she was waiting for them to find her. She wanted them to find her. That's what she really wanted. She had been moving around a lot in the Tesla. She'd been on one side of the street, the other side of the street, all around the house that David's manager rented for David, whose real name is David Anthony Burke, but he spells it again, D4 ending cycles VD. Anyhow, so I'd have to look up the numerology of all those letters, which I should have before I started the video, but there's a reason he's picked to spell his name like that. So when we're looking at it, his manager rented the home. And what do we call a manager but a handler? They're there to keep their person financially solvent. They don't really care. They're just there to make sure that the person is making money. And suddenly this young kid who's 20 is making a shit ton of money, where he can pay $20,000 a month for where he lives, which is a lot when you don't own it, right? But apparently the Tesla was moving into different spots around the neighborhood, and the neighbors said they did smell something. Please, people, when you smell something, call the police. They thought it was an animal, and that can smell bad enough. That's true. But the smell of either a dead animal or dead person is so strong that you absolutely want to make sure that you call the police to check that it isn't actually a person. So having said that, when the tickets were not collected or paid and the car got towed after so many days, it ended up in the tow yard, and they're the ones that called the police. And poor little Celeste was, had been dead a while in the front of the car. She'd been cut up and she'd been placed there. So who did that? People are saying, well, you can't prove murder. Well, what you can prove is hiding a body in a car and cutting it up. Also a crime. Harming a body after it's been passed, after they've passed away. I mean, desecrating a body. Okay, that's one charge. And just because David puts his his property into his parents' name does not mean it's not going to come out when he gets sued, hopefully by Celeste's family in a civil matter, because he's hiding it because they found the body. So that's a reaction to an action, and you can't actually hide assets when they're coming after you, and they will be coming after him. But he's not the only one. So let's back it up a bit. So when I'm picking up on Celeste's energy, I really get this young, sweet girl. She's tough. She has to be tough. Part of her appearance makes me think she's Cancer rising also, but she's tough. She's a tough kid. She explains energetically, I'm speaking, that she was a scapegoat in her family. So things were thrown at her and tossed at her that were not really her. She was blamed for things. The mother was competitive with her. That's a weird thing to say. The mother was combative with her because she was either envious or undercurrent secretly jealous of her daughter or the youth or the way that her daughter was willfully her own person, because she was willfully her own person. She was difficult, and she did run away long before she ran away. So I'm thinking around age 7, 8. Obviously, she's not going to get far. Thank God she didn't, and nothing happened to her then. But it was in her thinking to always run away. Like, this is what she was going to do. She had it in her head, and it's what she was going to do. She really does kind of sound like also a Cancer rising, but I see the Sag at the same time. So I see both of those elements in her energy. I see her wanting a family a lot, and I see her being very much, this is going to sound weird because she's rebellious as shit, but I see people pleasing in the energy, and that is probably what her biggest issue was, is wanting to know that her family cared about her. Now, as I'm feeling the energy and the hand, it's the right hand, and she's like, you promised. When I'm seeing that, I'm feeling like she was introduced to the singer probably around the age of 11 and a half. Like, seriously, before she got a period, before she was even like in teenagehood. 11 and a half. What the hell are you doing talking to a kid who's 11 and a half? What the hell are you doing? That's a huge problem in our society, and a lot of these entertainers get away with it because they're special, because they make money, and that really should not be a thing. And people clamor to that because they feel if they're around it, they can also get there. Understandable, but not good for your kids. She also energetically makes me feel like somebody in her family, younger female, not the mother, somebody in the family introduced her to David by way of another third-party friend. She also goes way back into her early childhood and says, you know, that people didn't really watch over her, and there was somebody's brother who was inappropriate with her. So she comes from a background of already not being listened to or being blamed, scapegoated for what other people in the neighborhood, family, this kind of thing did to her. That's beyond typical, actually. But this little girl, that's what she went through. So she built a tough exterior, and she always wanted to protect her family. She really didn't belong anywhere else in her own mind, but she also was looking for something to take over that part of her life in the family. So if I go to a boyfriend, he's going to take care of me. Eventually we'll get married. I mean, something along those lines is how she's thinking. And as she's thinking like this, she's getting herself deeper and deeper into circumstances. And not only with him, there's other boys around there that are older. She's now a magnet for older people, older boys, even if it's 5 years older. I'm sorry, when you're 12 and 17, that's wrong, but she's kind of a magnet. So I go back to thinking about the chart, and I'm like, what does that mean? Well, if you put her at a triple Virgo, it's going to put Pluto on the 5th house cusp and her north node, right? But usually when we're talking age difference, like sex with older people, it's abuse. But when you see people with huge age gaps, you will find Capricorn in the 5th house, love affairs with older Capricornian people. Saturn in the 8th, Saturn in the 12th. They can also be contingent of abusive things. Those are just some of the things. I mean, there's too many to name, but my mind just went all around and I still can't figure out the rising sign. But there were other older kids, boys, that were also very much in keeping with Celeste and trying to get with her and trying to connect with her. It's something that happens in a traumatized child out of a family where there's both either avoidance, neglect, rosy-colored glasses on. We don't want to see the truth. We don't want to talk about it. It's her fault. So there's no help and there's no therapy given to the child. They're going to keep recreating that, and eventually they'll marry it and it'll continue on. It's a thing. It happens both male and female, both way, female, male, male, female. It's a thing. So she desperately needed her family, and her family did love her, but I do see that she was outed by somebody in her family, female. This could be a female cousin or a female sibling. It feels like that kind of energy. So there's a feeling of like, I did what they wanted me to do. I did what they wanted me to do. It's not that she even wanted to be a singer herself. She was more looking for security and enjoyed what was going on around it and thought that she was on equal footing. So now I flip over to David, letter D, 4vd. I still can't get over how that sounds. So I go to him, and again, he's a March 28th of 2005, Aries Sun, Scorpio Moon, deadly combination. And then the presence of the softness behind him is yet another layer that is very Michael Jackson-ish when you think about it in a little bit of a way. There's the internal self and the presented mask that we wear. And I'm saying this for a reason. I'm actually saying it for a reason. So when I looked at his energy and I go back in time to when he's playing the video games and his mom is suggesting that he write his own music so that he avoids legal consequences, etc. on YouTube, copyright on down the road. So he does this. That's wonderful. That's a smart move. But the energy that I see behind David when he's doing the video games, obviously I see his eyes darting like this, and then I see his brain chemistry opening in kind of a linear way and causing a kind of openness, like an open door policy to thoughts being put into it. I'm not sure if these are coming from the video game or something in the video game is making it happen. I don't exactly know which, but I see it like that. So thoughts coming in that aren't his, and frequently a lot of these thoughts. So as he continues to play the video game, the brain frequency and the texture of the electricity through the brain, okay, changes. And that texture allows for other thought forms. This is the way I'm seeing it. Other basically molecules to attach to his thinking pattern and redirect the way that he thinks. So again, which came first? I play the video games, and this kind of like an exercise opens my brain up in a particular way, or I open my brain up in a certain way through the video games, which allows external information to come. I'm seeing that combination. I'm really seeing that combination. So there's a lot of that goes into the way that he changes and shifts. So from about the age of 16, 17, his brain takes a look over this way, and we're not dealing with the same person. We're not dealing with the same frequency. We're not dealing with the same thoughts. We're not dealing with the same goals, ideations, dreams. It's changed. So this has changed, and suddenly he has changed, okay? So it's like I'm looking this way, and suddenly I go over here, and this different expression of this person. So he starts to want to express himself differently. Basically, it's a personality change. It was slow in happening, and he is in some senses unaware that it's happening at the time because it shuts off one part of his brain and activates another. Almost like people who are in like a catatonic state and they don't remember what happened, and they wake up and they're like, where am I? And what are you talking about? Almost like that. There's this feeling of like, this is so different. And now I think like this. I don't know who he is, but I'm not him anymore. And this is happening around the age of 16, 17 for him. He's changing the direction of his frequency in his brain. It's actually changing. And I'm going to say this, the brain chemistry was hijacked by an outside thought pattern or form or entity or whatever you want to call it. Could be either or and all. And it's directing him ever so slowly, bending the frequency internally, not the external. But I bet you if you look at pictures of him from before that, some say 14, and then at 17, I bet, well, besides growing, but I bet you the look in his eyes is different. He's bending frequency, but this is going on a cellular level, inside the brain, chemistry level, and it's something that he's doing, and it's very like different than I felt. I felt things like that can occupy your brain, but this is different because the thoughts are directing him down a road. So he is now being directed and consumed and asked to go over here and to be that way. Suddenly, and this is just how I pick up on his energy, he's alive, he's here, but suddenly when he looks at his music or he hears his music or people ask him about his music, he's like, wow, like who knew? Like he's actually kind of stunned that he did that. Like, I didn't know I could do that. So he himself doesn't have full recognition of like being able to create these things, but yet knows he create them and he's quite proud of himself. That to me sounds like there's a slight bit of energy field interference by an entity hooking into his frequency. I really feel that with him. So it's very slow. It's not the same thing as possession like The Exorcist. These are different things. You can become possessed. And if you watch some musicians, you can see when the possession comes into them. You can see when it comes into them. You can watch their eyes. They start to roll back in their head. You can really see it with a musician. You can see it with the tone and the frequency and the pitch. And you can see their eyes flutter and the way that they look. And then they come back into their body. If you watch, start watching old performances. I watch Prince do it a lot, but watch. You'll see things like that happen. You'll see musicians do it, and some don't allow that. Now, there are practices and there are rituals in which you can invite something into your energy field. There are even mediums that channel. Like if you look at ones that channel entities or aliens or groups of aliens, they're actually inviting them literally into the physical and the frequency, which means, and this is what I think happened to David, which means when you allow somebody into your house, your body, your frequency, okay, you are pushed to the side while that energy takes over control of your physical body. So it's not something I'm going to do for any reason on purpose. Trance channels do it. That's something that you can do. Like it's a natural occurrence. Like when you're younger and you don't know what you're doing, they will do that to you and you have to actually set a boundary. A lot of entertainers invoke and allow it into them in order to increase what they're doing or have help writing or communicating with what they're doing. Okay. You can watch it. Go watch. Like, go look at certain entertainers, watch it when they start really going and watch their faces. You'll see it. You'll see the flash when it changes. This is what I think happened to David, but it's for a different reason. It's coming through the frequency of the video game and they are using David to create the story. That's how I'm picking it up. They're using David to create the story. I just heard something over there. And so his actions from when that happened, like age 17, 18, 16 onward, he's creating the story for them so that they live through him and he has to do in order for them to live. That's how I see the energy. Now, when I go back to what happened to Celeste, the first thing is I see a young girl who still hugs her animals. And this is interesting. I don't know if she's signaling me this or she really had this stuffed animal. Some people do, some kids do. But she's showing me a white rabbit that she carries with her. And I'm just going to say this straight out. We know what the white rabbit stands for. So it can be two meanings. It can be the rabbit up and died pregnancy, but the police are saying she hasn't been pregnant for a year, but they don't know why she died. If you can tell she hasn't been pregnant for a year, then you can tell if she was drugged when she died. Just saying. I mean, those tests should come back immediately, especially in a high profile case, right? Or the rabbit is chrome, and you know what I'm talking. Put Adreno in front of it, you know what I'm talking about. So the rabbit in its molecular structure signifies that. Now, here's the only time I've heard of a teenage girl in real life showing up with a stuffed rabbit, because I have heard this before, and it's due to them being trafficked, usually by a boyfriend who is really a pimp, because how else do you get a young girl to want to spread her legs or do whatever for multiple people? First of all, you have to love her. you have to do what her father or family couldn't do for her and convince her that you're a boyfriend. And then because she's young and naive and looking for love, she's going to do what she's going to do for you when you explain the problem you have. That's the first thing. Carrying the rabbit is also a sign when being delivered from one to another that she's been trafficked. So it's kind of interesting. I feel like somebody set her up with David the singer to begin with. That's what I feel, okay? But I am seeing the image of her with a stuffed, not a real rabbit, but a stuffed white rabbit. I don't know the significance of it. Then I see on the day that she passes, and keep this in mind, okay. She shows me the energy of leaving her body, and it was kind of like a corkscrew like that, and she was out. I don't think she was dead. I think something happened and she lost consciousness. I'm falling forward and I bash my head in, and then I can't hear, my ears are ringing and I can't hear anything. She may have fallen, tripped or fallen or gone unconscious due to something she ingested and fallen forward and hit her head. But before that, because I hear the ears are ringing, like my ears hurt. Like I smashed my head and I'm like, oh my God, my ears. So the pressure in that area is a lot. Like it's a fucking lot. Yeah. Okay. So here's what happened to her from the perspective that I picked up on it energetically. And she wants to keep pointing out that you promised me. You promised me. And I'm all over the place with this because it's how the energy feels. It's so unsettled. This has happened before. She's not the first one who died this way. These people have done this before, which makes me feel like there's about 4 of them. I go immediately down the freeway and I go to the stupid 710, if you've ever driven on it in Los Angeles. I'm going there. I'm in the traffic. Oh my God, I can't get out of this traffic. And I'm going to Long Beach and I'm going down to the docks. So I'm going like the Long Beach freeway, but I'm going down that way and I'm going to a cement room. So I'm going to a room where it's a warehouse or it is a building that is brick, literally brick building, and it's cement and I can't hear shit. I am blindfolded. I have come from somewhere else. And I've come from somewhere where I feel like it's really windy and sandy and it sounds like the beach, but I've come from there and now I'm blindfolded. I'm not scared. I don't think anything's happening. I'm not scared. And I'm walking, if I'm her, that's what I'm talking like that, if I'm her. And I'm walking through the door of a warehouse, a building, a film studio, somewhere you rent to film where nobody's around, no one cares. So it's not like a warehouse in the middle of the city. It is a warehouse at the docks. I feel like that. And there's all these cars pulling up. She can't see them because she is blindfolded or she can't see for some reason. So she thinks she's included. I'm included. She's going into the building. I'm included. Like this is something we're doing. It's fun. I'm included, right? She gets there. She can hear nothing. It's like white noise. And it's like you're sucked into a vacuum. Sucked into the vacuum. I walk in and I'm in a room. And they take the blindfold off and I'm shut in the room. But I can't see shit. I can't see. I mean, I can see that I'm in a room. I don't realize I'm in a room with a backlit mirror so that people can see in, but I can't see them. And then when I look on the outside of the mirror, I see all kinds of people. People holding napkins like for hors d'oeuvres. People in nice clothes. I see a celebrity there that I recognize. She's very tall. She's very famous. She's getting older. I see her there. I see other people. This actress shouldn't be connected to this singer. Like, it doesn't make sense to me why they're in the same circles. Or, I mean, maybe, but not really. I see her. I see other people. I see people in suits. It seems like a corporate event, but then I see people that look like the singer. They're dressed like that. I see people in jeans and t-shirts. I see younger kids walking around. I see a table with like alcohol and drinks and everybody's getting ready. And in the back, There's a movie projector. Now, I know we don't use movie projectors anymore. And Celeste is showing me as she's looking around, this is what she's showing me. This is after she's passed, she's showing me this, or the energy's showing me this. But she's showing me an outside old school drive-in movie theater. So the cars pull up and everybody's individual in their viewing of the movie, but there's 3 huge screens. And this movie, Celeste shows me she's running over here and she's wearing a coat and her hair is free and she's running. Over here, she's crying. Over here, she's blindfolded. They're twisting her around. Over here, she's dead. So I'm watching and I'm all over the place on these screens. So she herself is somehow confused about what's going on. Like, I'm all over the place. I go back in the warehouse and I look around, and when I'm looking, I see these people. They're chatting. They know each other. Not everybody knows each other. Some of them sit on a couch. It's set up for like a party of viewing, a pay-per-viewing, a pay-per-view, a pay-per-view. This is a digital party. I think that's what they're trying to tell me. I do feel people are there viewing it in person, but people with a lot of cash. The cash comes down. It's like a dog fight. It's like a fucking dog fight. The cash comes down. I immediately switch temperaments, and the dog, it's like a dog fight. So we have a planned pay-per-view dog fight. Murder going out digitally to people that sign in to the warehouse, to that warehouse, to watch it happen, because this is the clientele they're dealing with. And you promised me something about the relationship, the music, the frequency of the singer, and then we're going to do this because you fucking promised me. So the promise me part is changing now to it being said to her, you promised me that you would do this for me. Okay, but because she's showing me this, then I'm hearing it like it's being reflected back to her. Like it has to do with her for him. So I almost feel this was, okay, there's 2 components, and there is always one component, and it's financial. So if people can make a buck off your ass, they'll do that. But that's not what I'm talking about. This is twofold. It's moneyfold, and they have clientele who buy this product. They have clientele. The clientele is not disturbed in any way by what they see on the film and the cameras, these big outdoor cameras. Obviously, they're not outdoors, but I'm seeing them like drive-in movie theaters. So what that signifies to me is, you remember, well, you don't, I do, because I'm that age, but you could go to drive-in movie theaters and you could be in a car with 4 people and you guys could be eating popcorn and laughing, and the car next to you, they could be having sex, but you couldn't really see in because everybody had their own speaker in the park. And so each car that went in there, depending on what your car was and where you were hiding behind, did you have tint on your windows? Did you have a blanket over your head? Or were you like roof down and like, rah, 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 let's watch the movie? Individual microphones came up, individual places to hook up, right? That's individual areas, people's own computers, pay-per-view. That's what I'm seeing. Took me a while to figure that out. Pay-per-view is what happened. So her passing has been filmed and has been marketed. And the reason it's been marketed the way that it's been marketed, and why they didn't want to find her, although placing her in her boyfriend's car is a bit really fucked up, because it wasn't him that did that. There are 4 people involved in this. There is 1 female and 3 men. The reason that it's done like that is because it sets up the next game. Okay, so I think I've got this down. So the murder of Celeste, and they didn't get her, by the way. The murder of Celeste was and it wasn't an accident. It was a setup. But the murder of Celeste was a consciousness extraction, and they didn't get her consciousness. She crossed over. She is in, I would use the word a chamber, but she is in a locked in vacuum room, like a hospital on the other side, energy wise, frequency wise, where they are acclimating her back from the damage done to her all the way along. I definitely feel this is past life. She was lured right into this relationship. She was lured. And that's the word I'm going to use with it. She is able to observe what's going on, because I see her in the hospital-like place, and I see her watching what's going on. She definitely was watching when they found her body. So the part of her energy is able to see it, but without emotionally connecting to it until she's able to emotionally connect to it. When they found her body, this is so interesting because she would have been 15 on the 7th of September. So her solar return was active at the time, because of course, leading up to her birthday, she would have been feeling the energy. Usually starts about a month before your birthday. So from year to year, you run the chart for the solar return. I'm sure you all know this. You run the chart and it goes back into the exact degree that it was at the time that you were born. So the energy of the new year theme, the new year birthday year for you, the person, whenever your birthday is, that theme for that year, a lot of times it can be, no theme. I mean, very little interesting happening. And other times it's like all your work, all your health, all your control and manipulation and deception and all of that, which must have been the way it was with her energy on her solar chart. I bet you she started to feel it before. And I think that they started to argue before. And I think the word, and I got it mixed up because I thought it was her saying he promised her, but I think he's saying it to her. You promised me you'd do this. You said you would do this. I think he talked her into doing something she didn't want to do. And I don't mean sex. I mean more on a ritual level. And I think she put her foot down because, again, we're coming out of a Mercury retrograde in August. We're flipping over to, eclipse season. And the eclipses are either going to be squaring her or like right on her sun and moon. So that's a strand of energy. And that can actually throw people off the planet big time. And that could even be Uranus in your chart. When the eclipses happen, I equate that with Uranian energy, and it could just like throw you over the edge. I'm trying to look and see. I pulled up my version of her chart just to see, but her Uranus was in Pisces. That's probably what was activated at 29 degrees, which is an anaretic degree, which means it's going to be activated during an eclipse. So it's either going to be squared or conjuncted, whatever. Anyhow, so I feel her solar chart literally was lit up for this. She didn't have a chance. You cannot play in a game, video game, with people whose intellect is so different than yours and frequency is coming from an altered consciousness, and you're down here in this very thick layer of energy. So I really feel there's a huge digital footprint as to what happened. I'm jumping ahead in my head and thinking right around November 7th through to the 30th of November, there's huge developments in the case. And it looks like there's 4 people involved. I'm sure whoever hid the body in the car on purpose, I don't even understand thinking like that. So that's a deliberate thing. That's deliberate. And there's confusion around who did that, but there are 4 people involved. Anyway, that is my first reading on this topic and completely out of the blue. And once again, my name is Sloan from sloanbella.com.